Good morning, everyone, and thank you for attending today's webinar brought to you by Casablanca Finance City and PwC in Morocco. We're so glad to be back after a couple of months. Thank you for joining us today. If you are new to these events, welcome. My name is Manal Bernoussi, and I will be walking you through the program today. We are just giving few moments to everyone to join in. You have been so many to register. Thank you so much for that. Hello, everyone. Make sure you follow us on social media and register to our monthly newsletter so you don't miss any of our upcoming events. I can see more people coming in. Hello, everyone. Hi, Adil. Ali bin Saïd, Hatim Sabti, welcome to you all. Muna, Rita Ferdowsi, so good to see you. Hi, Zineb. Oh, you're so many joining. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited to see you. Once you have joined, please drop us a message in the chat box to say hi. Tell us which city you're connecting from. Tell us which company you're representing. We'd love to learn more about you and have a dynamic conversation. So before we get started, I'd like to, hi Karima, hi everyone. Thank you for all the messages in the chat box. So great to see you all interacting. So I will give you just a very quick overview of the Zoom platform we're using today. So at the bottom of the screen, you will notice some Zoom features. The most important one over there is the Q&A widget. Please do not refrain from using it. This is where we will be asking all questions for our speakers. If you have a specific question to one of them, please make sure you type his or her name so we know to who we should direct it. So I do encourage you to submit your questions at any time. For those of you who prefer to type in questions in French, that's perfectly fine. The team and I will make sure to translate those for our international audience. This is also a great opportunity for us all to interact. There is a whole team back here that is reading all your comments one by one. So make sure to use the chat box to tell us about yourself, share your thoughts, raise any concerns you have about the coming agenda, Africa Business Agenda. All right, I see we are approaching the 100 attendees. You have been over 200 to register. I believe more will be joining on. So we are almost getting ourselves ready. Today's program is being recorded, so that will be available for you. Just tag the QR code you see on the slide right now, and it will take you to our YouTube channel where you can access the replay as soon as it is uploaded. So without further ado, it's time to get things started, I believe, and it is my privilege to introduce to you the CEO of Casablanca Finance City, Mr. Saïd Ibrahimi, for his welcome note.
Thank you, Manan. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you are all doing well and keeping safe. It is my pleasure to welcome you all following the summer break to a new season of events in partnership with our CFC community members. Today, we are happy to host this event with one of the leading consultancy firms in our business community. PwC has joined CFC in 2014 and has been a very active member since then. PwC is involved in our work with the Africa Innovation Lab and in different working groups that we lead with our community. We are also glad that PwC has located the Experience Center, which is dedicated to digital-centric services, at the CFC First Tower. This addition will for sure bring real value in these times where innovation and digital transformation are at the core of the new models. Our webinar today will be focusing on the key findings of PwC's latest edition of the Africa Business Agenda. More specifically, we'll be digging into how this global crisis has created new opportunities in fields such as cybersecurity, digital transformation, and sustainability. And we'll be hearing more from Tom Cruz about that. So thanks again to PwC for sharing this work with us. And I would also like to take this opportunity to personally thank our guests, Mrs. Naoual Zine, Mrs. Meryem Chami, and Mr. Hicham Kabbaj, for responding to our invitation, and to you all that have joined us today. Have a great session.
Thank you, Saïd, for these words. We are looking forward to Tom's keynote. Indeed, we're looking so much forward to these key insights. So now we are moving from the 26th floor of the CFC First Tower to the 19th floor of the CFC First Tower to welcome Réda Loumany, Territory Managing Partner at PwC Morocco. He has started his career 25 years ago working for Moroccan, African, and international clients in the Casablanca and the Paris office, with a focus on financial services and public sector. Since July 2021, he's also coordinating PwC's activities across the Maghreb region, and he's a member of the PwC France and Maghreb Market Leadership Team. Réda, it's so great to have you here today. The floor is all yours.
Thank you, Manel. Hello, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well and safe. I'm delighted and honored to be invited to give the opening speech of the first CFC event of the season, along with the Saïd Ibrahimi, the CFC CEO, that I deeply thank for giving the opportunity to PwC in Morocco to unveil and discuss insight of its well-known global CEO survey. We have invested significant amount of time and energy to work on this one. It's been the same the previous years, but to be honest, it was of course a bit of the challenge to do it in with the pandemic, and now it's feeling very good and great to see the outcome and the fact that we have so many CEOs that have answered our survey. So first of all, it is undeniably clear that the CFC platform is playing a major role in promoting the doing business in Africa, and I'll say providing an integrated support to private companies, startup, and other organizations seeking to develop their growth in the continent. And no surprise, this is why we PwC have joined this adventure years ago now, and we were one of the first to step in, and this is definitely one of the smartest moves that we've done when we've decided to reopen offices in Casablanca back in 2008. And since 2014, PwC in Morocco is a proudly member of the CFC community, and we're working forward to developing new initiatives, a long-term collaboration built on common interest for Africa development. We've been deeply involved in so many initiatives, and there is so many more to come, because this is definitely one of our main purpose, I'll say. So thank you again for your invitation. So today we have the pleasure of sharing with you the main teaching of the 24th edition of the CEO survey. The importance of this study has significantly increased over the years. Yes, we've been doing this for many years, but this year once again is a special one, I would say. So it's in its 24th birthday or year, and the CEO survey achieved record participation with over 5,050 completion forms from more than 100 countries. This is amazing, and we're very so proud of this, surpassing that last year completion record that was about 3,500. So This is a raise of more than 50%, once again, in a very difficult condition, but the results are definitely showing that this initiative that we've been pursuing for years is getting more and more interest year after year, and this is just great for all of us. Numbers and figures of the survey reports provide definitely unique and comparative insight into how CEOs are responding to the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the strategies that are developing to build long-term resilience, because we've been learning about resilience, hearing about it for the past years, but we all know that this will now have a special meaning. And the pandemic is definitely, had definitely, I'll say, a grip on this word and how powerful it is now and how meaningful it is. So surprisingly, CEO's optimism is prevailing for growth and recovery. That was the main teaching of this poll, and it's also very interesting to understand why and how they want to pursue the growth and get back on a normal track. And I believe Tom and the panelists will provide a lot of insight on this question. It is the case also in Africa, because as you may know, this study covers the different continents, and we're doing here a special focus on Africa, and we also compare the African result with the other continents. So in the case of Africa, as the continent is undergoing a significant development dynamic, despite the crisis, we believe now is the time for business leaders in Africa to drive growth from new possibility to transform, change, and moreover, for reimagine their operational model by adopting a leadership agenda to take on tomorrow. I think this is definitely what we expect for all our leaders in Africa, all the women and the men that are in responsibilities today to take us to the next level despite of the crisis, and look at this crisis as an opportunity to come out with a new model, a model that is more resilient and a model that bring a growth that could be shared with the entire populations. So drawing the result of the Global CEO Survey, the Africa Business Agenda defines clearly the main trends and point out strategic issues and priorities to guide Africa CEOs in their decision-making. This is very clear. And once again, you will see it through the session. This is quite clear, and it's also very understandable. So we are very happy to team up with the CFC throughout this webinar and to share this African key insight with the CFC community and the whole audience. So these main insights are completely aligned with PwC new global strategy that we have entitled The New Equation. So focused around building trust in society and delivering sustainable outcomes. I think that the sustainability meaning is very strong in our new strategy. And the new strategy will shape also how PwC is making substantial investment for further enhanced quality offer and provide long-term value and sustainable solution for our client and our stakeholders. This is something that we've been working on very hard to rethink about what should be our purpose today. We knew exactly where we came from, but what should our purpose change? How should we reimagine our purpose moving forward after this pandemic? I hope, honestly, that this session will help understand the main aspects that shaped current situation of doing business in Africa. So I would like to also thank our three keynote panelists, Meryem, Chami, Naoual, Zine, and Hicham for accepting our invitation to discuss these findings and also share their views and insights. So to complete and finish, I wish you all a constructive webinar, and please ask as many questions as you have in mind, because this is the whole point of these webinars. It's not just us sharing, we also need your input along this session. Many thanks once again.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Réda, for those words. Indeed, the question about purpose is absolutely key. Thank you very much once again, Réda and Saïd, for the welcome note. The time has come to deep dive into our topic today, and I'm so glad to welcome Tom Cruz. Hi, Tom. How are you doing today?
Very good. Thank you very much, Manal. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So Tom is a partner of PwC Consulting, sitting on the 20th floor of the CFC First Tower as well. He has a long and rich international career at PwC, having worked and lived in Amsterdam, New York, Paris, and now Casablanca over a period of 20 years. He helps clients be successful in their transformation projects with a specific focus on finance and supporting technology and innovation. Tom is also one of our earliest contributors to the CFC community. He was one of the key authors of the CFC Africa Insights publication on fintechs. We will put a link for that report for you to download. And he has also been actively supporting us for the creation of the Africa Innovation Lab, as mentioned by Mr. Ibrahimi earlier. So welcome again, Tom, and the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much, Manal, and hello, good morning to everybody. Thank you, Saïd. Thank you, Réda, for the introduction and for revealing already some of the results. I'm delighted to present those results to you. So the title, of the Africa Business Agenda is a leadership take on tomorrow, and I think take on tomorrow is really important. Again, it's really what is the key message of our study. The CEO, sorry, that we have interviewed worldwide and in Africa have been very optimistic this year. And now obviously, we're still not coming out of the crisis, but seeing, that there is optimism is very good. As Réda said, it's not the first edition of the Africa Business Agenda. It's actually the 8th. And it's always part of a larger study that we launch globally each year. We've been doing that for almost 25 years now, with over 5,000 CEOs that participate with over 100 countries, 150 CEOs in Africa this year. That's a record for us. Now, these results, of this study at a global level are always presented by our global chairman, Bob Moritz, at the annual meeting of the World Economic Forum in Davos in Switzerland, which is always very early in the year. Now, this year has been a little bit special and a little bit different for two reasons. One, Davos was actually not happening this year. The World Economic Forum took place in Singapore a little bit later in the year, in May, if I'm not mistaken. But secondly, we actually postponed slightly our survey. And normally we ask CEOs to respond to our survey in December to have the results ready in January. Now we actually wait a little bit. Now, why did we do that? Well, we were thinking, there are some really important global events that were actually taking place, and that we thought, were of great input to our surveys. And then doing the survey a little bit too early, we would actually miss out on some of them. That being, obviously, the COVID vaccines coming to the market. That being as well, Brexit negotiations that were still on the way between the UK and Europe. But also the US presidential elections, for example. So we concluded therefore the survey slightly later, again, that some of those results I'll be presenting to you today, and then later on, we'll be discussing them with the panelists. So I think we can move to the next slide. Just a very quick highlight, on the methodology and the number of CEOs that we interviewed, over 150 again, in Africa, coming from more than 14 countries. Some of the biggest countries, obviously, in North, Sub-Saharan and South Africa represented. So that's very comforting. And you know, it's like within that panel of 150 CEOs, some of the largest companies of the continent, and therefore, you know, it's like we believe very representative on what, you know, CEOs in Africa are thinking and how they're seeing the future. So what that said, you know, it's like let's start looking, you know, it's like at some of these results. We can move to the next slide. So the first question, you know, is like the first item we'd like to highlight, you know, is global economic growth. You know, it's like how are CEOs thinking about this? Now, you can see on the left, you know, it's like on the graph, you know, it's like that actually, you know, it's like optimism has never been so high. Now we're coming from a very, very low, you know, it's like a level of almost like 22%. But, you know, it's like it's at 76%, you know, so globally it's at 68%, you know, it's like for Africa. So CEOs are extremely optimistic and really, you know, thinking that economic growth is coming back. Now you can see, you know, it's like that makes sense, you know, it's like we're coming out of a crisis, you know, it's like, well, even at the crisis, not completely behind us yet. But the good thing is, you know, it's like this is actually the highest, you know, it's like since we started, you know, it's like measuring this in 2012. And the best thing even, you know, it's like of this is that when we look back and we say, you know, it's like whenever we asked this question and when they said, like, yes, we're very optimistic, actually, you know, it's like then looking back, you know, it's like the results actually showed, you know, it's like that this actually happened, you know, it's like, so we're very confident that that growth, you know, it's like is going to occur in the months to come. And I think, you know, I think we can see already, you know, some of that in some of the publications that are coming out, you know, say in terms of financial figures. Now, one thing is, you know, it's like looking at the overall global economic growth. Secondly, is looking at actually what are the results, you know, it's like company by company, and our CEO is very optimistic about the results of their company as well. Or are they just, you know, thinking that, you know, it's like this is actually happening for others, but it isn't really happening for them. So maybe we can look at the next slide, you know, it's like to highlight a little bit of that. So we asked the CFOs, you know, it's like if they're optimistic about their organization's growth prospects, you know, we asked them in the short term, the next 12 months, and we asked them for the next 3 years to come. Now, you know, it's like we're only showing here the very confident. So people, you know, it's like CEOs that are really, really confident, showing, you know, it's like and confirming that they show that there is a lot of growth coming for them. You know, it's like we can see, you know, it's like it's improving obviously from last year. It isn't there yet, you know, it's like at the levels we have seen historically, you know, it's like the 38, 42, you know, it's like around the 40%, but we're not far off, you know. It's like what is more interesting, you know, it's like, and this is really a trend that we've been observing for years now, is that the Africa CEOs are much more confident when it comes to the long term. So you know, it's like you can see it on the right. The numbers, you know, it's like in the long term are higher. We're almost at 42%, which is a great message, you know. It's like, and it's also a message, you know, it's like that shows, I guess, the reality of the African continent. We know that in the short term, you know, there are always hiccups, you know, it's like, there are things, you know, it's like that impact in the short term that can be of any nature, being it, you know, it's like pandemics, being it, you know, it's like political crisis, what have you, you know, it's like the long-term growth perspectives of the African continent are still very positive, and the CEOs, you know, it's like confirm this, you know, it's like, and I think that's overall, you know, it's like a very, very encouraging message. So now let's move, you know, it's like on to the next slide, you know, it's like I look a little bit, you know, it's like by industry, because we, you know, it's like we can say, okay, you know, it's like overall, you know, it's like people are much more optimistic, but how does that play out industry by industry? Because, you know, it's like with this pandemic, you know, it's like going on for like over 18 months now, obviously, you know, it's like different industries have been impacted by the way we have changed to live, to travel, to work, to consume. Now, you can see the industries where there is less confidence are, you know, it's like obviously the industries most affected: transportation, logistics, leisure, hospitality. That kind of speaks for itself. that there is less confidence in those industries. Whereas on the other hand, so it could also make sense that technology, healthcare, and telecommunications are very much confident industries, and we see CEOs being very, very bullish there. Healthcare, it speaks for itself. Now, telecommunications, technology has really to do with how, I would say, almost all industries, almost all companies are reacting to this crisis. We can see a shift, in the way we're working. The office is not the place where we meet every day anymore. It's happening, much more in a digital way. The way we're meeting consumers, the way we're meeting and interacting with suppliers, it's completely changing, and technology and telecommunications play obviously a very, very important role in all of that. The other item, that I think, is to highlight, again, that we initially thought, was really going to come out of this survey, is that CEOs would be investing in people, in their workforce, but it's probably slightly different in terms of conclusion of what we initially thought. So let's move to the next slide to look a little bit into that. When we asked the African CEOs and the global CEOs if they were expecting to increase headcount, so to increase their workforce, so there is an encouraging 42% that's saying yes, but the 42%, when you look at from a historical perspective, is actually fairly low. Okay, so we've been always around 50% on the African continent, and the thing that is really worrying a little bit is that there are about 30%, it's like 1 out of 3 of the African CEOs that's saying, well, we're actually decreasing headcount. So in a continent where, it's like we're all aware of that, jobs have to be created, and that's a major issue, it's like for all of us. I think this message is a little bit, it's like worrying. And what we are thinking is that people are really, it's like focusing much more on their current workforce, it's like improving conditions for their current workforce, and are not ready yet, it's like to increase the number of staff, it's like that they have working for them. And that is actually highlighted by some of the other conclusions that we have, and it's like that I'll talk about as well. So let's move, it's like to the next slide so we can see some of those items. When we asked the CEOs about what are you prioritizing in terms of people, you can see really, it's like that message coming back from, well, we're not recruiting, but we're focusing on our current workforce. We're focusing on performance management. We're focusing on health and well-being. We're focusing on engagement, on communications. We're investing in skills and adapting the skills of our people to the new environment that we have to operate in. And we're focusing on better culture, on better behaviors. So these are items, it's like that really have increased, it's like have increased considerably. And that in some cases, for example, the first one, performance management, really stand out in Africa. So this is, it's like at the same time that there's a little bit of skepticism, it's like if I can say, regarding the decreasing workforce, it's like there is an encouraging message here, it's like where they're saying, well, we have to make sure that the people that work with us, they're performing well, we will help them, it's like we invest time and money to do so. And it also demonstrates that CFOs are much more aware that, it's like when you go through a crisis and when you come out of a crisis, your people are the one item, it's like that you have to focus on, and that will drive the success that you will have. And let us look, it's like at some of the other items, it's like before we go into some of the risks and the threats, it's like that CEOs face as well. And let's move to the next slide. Similar, it's like to this investment in resources, it's like we can also see that CEOs are looking for opportunities to create more efficiency within their operations, and that the growth that they're pursuing is much more driven by organic growth and not necessarily, say by large M&A activities, by entering new markets. Now, this is something, so again, if we look at historical figures, it's like results of our studies, something that actually speaks for itself. Whenever, it's like we're in a difficult environment, when we go through a crisis, it's like some of the crises we have seen over the last, 10, 15 years, what do CEOs do? It's like they try to manage, it's like, and to gain inefficiency and to realize growth, it's like purely looking internally, it's like and avoiding much more risky strategies, it's like obviously improving operational efficiencies, it's like pursuing organic growth are relative less risky and at least, things that you can control completely yourself, so this is something, it's like we have observed in the past, and it doesn't come as a surprise, it's like that this is happening, it's like again these days. Similar to that, it's like let's move to the next slide. We can talk, it's like about the threats, it's like and actually, it's like relate them back, it's like to some of the investments, it's like that have been happening. The top 10 threats, it's like you can see them, it's like both, it's like from a global level and an African level, actually vary a lot. And this is, it's like something, it's like that I really like to point out, it's like maybe, it's like get into the detail of a few of those threats or risks. It's like at the global level, without surprise, pandemics and other health crises were named the #1 threat for companies, for CEOs these days. Now in Africa, this is only the 5th, okay? Obviously, it's moving up there from where it was historically, it's only mentioned as the 5th, it's like policy uncertainty, tax policy uncertainty have always been the top threats in Africa, and they remain to be the top threats. So it shows a little bit, it's like the environment, I guess, that we all are operating in, and that we still realistically, it's like have to take into account, and that poses difficulties for all of us. Now, the other item, it's like that's really, really important, and that really is up there, and that relates them back to some of those investments and those focus areas of CEOs, is cyber threats. Now, cyber threats were only, it's like the #9 last year. They moved up 6 places to #3 for Africa this year. So when I say, it's like this can be related back to the investments. Well, I've talked about, it's like companies and CEOs investing a lot, it's like in new models, in technology, in digital. Now, obviously, it's like that means that the risk of cyber attacks has increased. And I think, it's like we have all seen that in the news, it's like there's a lot of discussion about those items these days. And, it's like it's a main topic for many CEOs. And I think, it's like in the years to come, we're going to hear a lot about this, and it'll be very interesting to see what our panelists are doing and how they're dealing with this. So let's move to the next slide, and then we'll hand it over to the panelists. Investments, it's like match, it's like where the growth areas are. They also match where the risks are. We can see, it's like a lot of investment in digital transformation, in cost efficiencies, in leadership talent development, in cybersecurity, data privacy. It's like, obviously, it's like a major risk of misinformation that's related to cybersecurity as well, that we all have to manage. And again, it's like, I think it's something that we will see in the next years as coming out again out of this survey as a major risk. Now, one item, it's like it's not on here, it's like, and I kind of caught us by surprise when we were looking at the results, and I still, it's like to talk for 1 minute about it. And we have dedicated the next slide to that. and that's climate change. So maybe we can move to the next slide. So we would thought, thought that climate change would be up there as a major risk, and that CFOs would highlight that. So last year, about 1 out of 3, 30% of the African CEOs recognized climate change as an extreme concern. This year has been dropped to 22%, and only 30% of the African CEOs say that they actually have factored it into their risk management activities. So this is very low, and this actually, is a little bit surprising and worrying at the same time. Now, obviously, we have to say that Africa is not necessarily, the driver of climate change. It's rather, to some extent, a victim of some of the climate change's impacts. But the impacts are there, and I think they are there already these days. But if you look at these results, one should really worry about who is going to, drive the Africa climate change agenda in the next years to come. And I think, in maybe next year or the year after that, these percentages are going to be really, really, really different. So again, it's like something that really, surprised us a little bit. But maybe in the with the other risks, that we have, with the pandemic, and the other realities of the African continent, kind of makes sense as well. So let's conclude here. So just really, to wrap it up, on the next slide, you can see, the key points to remember. Overall, as we're slowly getting out of this pandemic crisis, optimism is coming back. It's actually at a record high. CEOs are really optimistic about their own companies. They invest a lot of time, they invest a lot of money in their workforce, getting, performances up there, changing culture. Yet having said that, there are some dangers, there are some risks. We like to highlight cyber and misinformation. We like to highlight climate change, although we believe, that it should be really much higher up there in terms of risk and threat for the years to come. So with that, I'm handing it over to Assia, who's gonna run the panel discussion together with Naoual and the panelists. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you for an excellent presentation. Confidence in the long term, cybersecurity, sustainability are definitely key words to keep in mind. Thank you for sharing all these findings. Okay, we are half through the program. How are we feeling so far? Let's drop some messages in the chat box to keep the energy flowing. Type in yes if you're still there and fully engaged with us. Type in some comments on Tom's presentation, questions, send those in the Q&A box. We'll be having a session of Q&A at the end, and more than happy to reflect with you guys. So now it's time to move on to the panel discussion with an incredible lineup of speakers. And to moderate this conversation, please join me in welcoming Assia Benhida, partner and market leader in PwC Morocco. After an experience in Paris and Casablanca as part of an international consulting group in business restructuring, Assia founded Optimum Conseil in 1998, specialized in management, consulting, and transformation. In 2019, PwC in Morocco made the acquisition of Optimum Conseil, and over the years, Assia developed expertise in change management. She also advised CEOs and directors of major institutions on their organizational transformation and HR projects. Welcome to you, Assia, and the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Manel. Thank you to our host and partner, CFC. Good morning to all. It's a pleasure to be with you at this great event for which I have the pleasure to moderate the guest panel. With our guests, we will discuss the key findings of the 24th PwC Global CEO Survey their priorities and challenges in Morocco and in Africa. So let me introduce our three guests. Our first guest is Meryem Chami, CEO of AXA Assurance Morocco and CIMA. Mrs. Meryem Chami has developed her professional journey in telecommunications sector. Soon after gaining more experience in the field, she became the director of procurement and consulting IT projects at Attijari Wafa Bank while pursuing her executive MBA in the École French School, famous French school, Pwc. After 4 years, Meryem Chami joined OCP Group, where she has evolved until she became the executive director in charge of transformation and steering. In 2015, she joined Altran Morocco and Tunisia as the CEO. And last year, Meryem Chami joined AXA Assurance Morocco and CIMA as the CEO. And Meryem Chami is also a member of CFA Morocco, the Club des Femmes Administrateurs du Maroc, and a board member in the different companies. So welcome to Meryem. Our second guest, Mr. Hicham Kabbaj, is JESA's managing director. JESA is the African leader in design, engineering, project delivery, and asset management services. JESA is also backed by two global powerhouses, OCP and Worley. And Mr. Hicham Kabbaj has over 20 years of industry leadership experience, including 8 years with JESA. He has held multiple key positions in the organization and successfully led the growth and sales efforts while managing the project services organization and until recently the mining and industry operations. After his university studies in Purdue in Indiana, he joined the Bechtel Group in the United States for 9 years. And during the same period of time, he pursued his studies at the IE Business School in Spain, where he obtained an MBA. In 2009, Hicham joined OCP Group for senior positions in the industrial program management team, who developed and delivered successfully OCP's mega phosphate projects. Everybody heard about this project. Prior to joining OCP's engineering GV, Hicham Kabbaj was leading the group's innovation effort. So welcome to Hicham. And last but not least, Mrs. Naoual Zine. Naoual Zine is the general manager of Reminex. Reminex is the Managem group subsidiary in charge of project development from R&D, engineering to project construction. She has 22 years of experience in the industrial sector. With an engineering degree, she started her career at the age of 22 years old in the silver mine in the south of Morocco. I think maybe it's one of the only women beginning her career and staying in the mining group as Managem during 22 years in the operations. But Naoual continued her career in finance and strategy, becoming for 10 years the VP in charge of finance and strategy of Managem Group. And since 2008, she accumulated a strong knowledge of the African context. So she has a very good knowledge and background of Africa through the management of structuring projects in African countries as Sudan, DRC, Gabon, Guinea, Ivory Coast. And currently, in addition to her position as a general manager of Reminex, Naoual is a board member of several African companies. So welcome to our guests, and let's start our discussion. The 24th PwC Global Survey is highlighting the trends, priorities, and concerns of CEOs around the world and in Africa. And clearly, we've seen that the pandemic had a dual role as accelerator of transformation and amplifier of disruptive forces. And despite this duality, most of the CEOs remain optimistic about the global economic comeback. And they believe this growth outlook will be enabled by digital acceleration to contribute to productivity and other business benefits, while addressing the threat of cyber attack and the spread of misinformation, and enhance sustainability awareness and ESG policies. As Tom said, climate change is a major risk, is a major challenge for our companies, and especially for African companies. So my first question is about the main impacts of the COVID-19 crisis on your companies. And my first question will be for Meryem Chami. What are the main findings of the survey that you have retained? Thank you, Meryem.
Thank you, Assia. Thank you for hosting this very interesting event, because I think that even such surveys are always very interesting in the current situation, especially with the COVID. And I will not talk at all about getting out from this pandemic, because I don't think that we are really taking out from it. But everything has changed very quickly. What has been fully unexpected before is really occurring. And today, I think that this crisis is coming with the big moves that are impacting all of us, not only from business side, from the business side, but also from the personal side. So I will not repeat what Tom and Assia already introduced, but I will just share with you my surprises, in this survey regarding the context where we are today. The first one is really about, the full alignment about, let's say, the major trends about tech, healthcare, well-being, etc., where we are, where Africa and African CEOs are really, getting the same trends and the same ideas as the global ones, which means that the world is global, will be more and more global with the local actions. But there are some trends that are really surprising. The first is the policy uncertainty and the over-regulation. Today, I think that with this pandemic, Africa will have unexpected business opportunities, new business opportunities. I'm board member of AMDIE, so l'Agence Marocaine des Investissements Directs Étrangers. And today, with the whole shutdown, from which industries like automotive or electronics suffered in the last months, with the huge impact on logistical costs. Today, the number of opportunities countries like Morocco are getting by attracting investments that have been made in Asia to Africa to be really close to the doors of Europe are major. And our ability to get in a very quick and agile manner is key. Today, when acting in such uncertainty in terms of policies and overregulation, could really have a big impact on the African economies, because we will not be agile to take over those opportunities. The second point is risks. Today, the focus on risks are less important in Africa rather than in Europe. And that means that, unfortunately, and we are seeing it even in Morocco, that is probably in some industries moving forward. It's the case of the way we are running businesses. We are facing those risks, etc. And today, what was not at all a risk for us is measured today, and we should really be aware about it. And I think that Assia, that we will discuss a little bit about cybersecurity later on. Yes. Next is performance management. It's very surprising to see that it seems that African CEOs are more aware that they should move to performance management rather than before. And frankly, you know, we are seeing even multinational companies that used to be managed like administration. And today it's time to move on. And it's a big surprise for me to see that people are aware. Last but not least, negative surprises about climate change. You know, even we are not concerned by carbon, you know, CO2 balance, CO2, you know, KPIs, etc. Unfortunately, we are in zone that will really be impacted by others' behaviors, you know, around the climate change. And I think that we should bring, as you know, African actors, more awareness, not to you know, not to do what has been done in other places. We have the chance probably in many development areas to be at starting point. So let's start in the right way, you know, not to face the same problems as others, and at least, you know, today to orient all our investments in green energy should be a key driver for all the policies in Africa.
Thank you, Meryem. Of course, sure, the crisis provided and revealed new opportunities for Morocco, and some trends, our priorities, our risks are very surprising. And we are totally agree with you and aligned that the climate change has to be a real challenge, a priority in all the strategies, and mainly in our continent. My second question is for Hicham. Tom presented us the main key findings of the survey. Were you surprised or reinforced by the observed trends?
Thank you very much, Sia. And first of all, I'd like to thank PwC and CFC for this great event. I think this is very insightful. It's always important to talk together and share with each other the knowledge for us, because Africa is the present and is the future for all of us. From JESA perspective, we are not too surprised, because 2 years ago when we did our strategy, it was based on 4 pillars, which is people, strengthening our core business, growth, including in actually mining and in energy, and digital. So the 4 aspects were already out there for us. And I take with people, for example, because Tom spoke about people. This is the most important thing for us today. This is the biggest, I would say, concern that we should all have, and we should be also working as one to really get our people and our talents in Africa in the right level. So we need to invest in training. We need to invest in developing people. In JESA, we have created what we call JESA Institute, with the sole purpose is to go and do the training internally and also for our partners. And we need to know how to retain our talents here. And we talked about performance, and I think Meryem rightly talked about that. We need to also change the way of working. We talk about having really a discussion with our people, with our employees, and having really a visibility for their career is extremely important. So this is subject we need to address seriously. When we talk about mental health, for example, I mean, mental health today is something essential. We cannot do without mental health. We need to be all investing in this. We cannot say, no, this is something too trendy for us. We can do it. There is the tools to do it and develop the aspects when it comes to people. When it comes to digitalization, in JESA, we have started really investing in digitalization a couple of years ago. It is for us critical for our business. And you know that very much, Assia, since we work together a little bit on this, is we have to be there, because all the clients, all the industries are moving digital. And luckily, we did have those investments and accelerated that, especially throughout COVID. As a matter of fact, when COVID came, we were ready. We were ready to bounce quickly to working from distance, to work into digital mode. And that's thanks to that investment we've done. So definitely digitalization, it's a key point as well that is fundamental. When it comes to cybersecurity, this is no brainer. This is business continuity. If you have a breach in your security, in your IT system, this pretty much can shut down your business. So absolutely is something, a big threat. And with the more digitalization we have, the more threats in cybersecurity. So definitely we need to really take that and put it as a priority. And this exercise of doing the top risks every time is something that's with COVID made it priority for us. So today we are actually JESA every 3-4 months, we are doing renewal of our risks, because at the end of the day, no one thought 2 years ago that we're going to have a shutdown for a year and a half, because we never thought maybe that risk roadmap has to be done and taken that seriously. And I go to sustainability. I mean, gosh, this is a key today. I mean, all the major investments going on in the green energy today, and look, climate change is a reality. It's a reality. We have to deal with it. We have to deal with it as one, even if Africa is not maybe concerned, maybe as not contributing, I would say, but we are the most concerned. So we need to be out there, and we need to be innovative. We need to invest in sustainability, and we can talk about that even further later on.
Thank you, Hicham. So 4 points. Investing people. It's you are not surprised by the results, but you said that investing in people, it's a priority. Cybersecurity is not a brainer. Periodic risk assessment, it's a way of driving a new way of driving our business since the crisis. And sustainability, we are more concerned in Africa. I can tell you that some of your colleagues that participate to the chat room, they said that we are so proud of JESA. Thank you, Hicham. So on direct live, thank you, Hicham, for your words. Now, Naoual, you are a general manager of Reminex. It's a subsidiary of Managem Group, mining industry. You are present based in different countries in Africa. So maybe as Hicham and Meryem, your first feedback and what are the main findings that you have retained? And in a few words, what are the impacts of the crisis on your group and a group such as Managem? Thank you.
Thank you, Assia, and thank you, CFC and PwC for your invitation. It was very interesting to see that the optimism released by the result of this survey. At the same time, it must call us out on some challenges which we have to face. For our company, this pandemic has taught us that breaking paradigms is the real engine of transformation. Saying that, I can answer to the question by focusing on 2 topics in this survey that caught my attention while making the link with the impact of this crisis on our group. The first concerns the fact that in this survey, 64% of our CEOs in Africa have not factored the climate change into their strategic risk management activities. And we know that during this last period, we have seen that this pandemic has forced us to recognize that the Earth is a closed system, evidenced by the rapid widespread of the virus across the globe. This makes this crisis a pertinent analog of the challenge of climate change. I think this score of 60% is related to the fact that for leaders, building climate resilience requires additional expenditure. But in fact, climate change is also, as Meryem said, is also a business opportunity. The low carbon transition creates opportunities for efficiency, innovations, and growth through new services and products. For our group, we understand that delaying actions regarding the climate changes reduces the latitude for actions in the future. And we have seen it as an important impact of this crisis. And contrary to the result of this survey, in my opinion, the company should change the objectives to ones that put climate mitigation and value creation at the same level with growth and profitability. For example, for Managem Group, we build sustainability into our strategy and operations as a way to improve and protect margins and build our brand value. In a concrete way, with Reminex as an engineering arm of Managem, we are incorporating climate resilience into asset design and specification from the beginning of our project. We are modifying assets and adjusting even operations process to reduce raw material and water use. And you know, we are present in several countries in Africa. We adapt the design of our facilities according to the country. The footprint impact on an area located in Sudan is different from that one located in West Africa or in DRC. We believe in the fact that engineering now will play an integral role in shaping our interaction with the world. My second focus is about the changes in technology, and the labor force needs provoked by the pandemic. We have to pay attention to the fact that many business default positions are to use technology to replace rather than to integrate with the workforce. This period was an opportunity for us to explore how we can make greater use of technology to augment people so that we achieve productivity gains, improve the working lives of our employees, and help drive higher economic growth. Concretely, our group just launched an OMS structuring project, Operation Management System, integrating information technology, IoTs, with a clear objectives. Improves mine performance and worker safety by using a series of sensors throughout the mine that transmit real-time information on air quality, diesel vehicle use, energy consumptions, and even personnel and equipment mobility, helping to boost energy saving by 15 to 20%. It's very important for us, and it's very important to the climate change, even for Morocco and Africa. And it will turn lowers carbon footprint and lowers cost. We understand from this crisis that even as a mining group, that using technologies and structured data will change for the future how we create value and compete with others.
Okay, we'll have the opportunity to deep dive on the technology and digitalization opportunities for the different companies. As I noticed, you talked about resilience, climate change. You said that it's a necessity, but it's also a business opportunity for a group such as Managem. And you said also that sustainability is totally integrated in your strategy. And we heard also another message that you gave us is that you're thinking global, but acting local and adapting your sustainability and your policy country by country for each country. Thank you, Naoual. Thank you, Naoual. My second round of question is about the threats and the opportunities of this crisis that this crisis revealed to your company. So, Meryem, in your industry, how is AXA Assurance concerned by the challenges of the increasing growth of digital transformation and cybersecurity, mainly?
Thanks, Assia. I think that accelerating the digital transformation has been, for sure, a great opportunity opened by the pandemic for industries who locally or in global logic, but for insurance, for example, mainly locally, stayed for years doing business as usual in the classical way because of the quality of the competition or the requirements of the client themselves. So I'm new. I can't say it anymore because I've been working for in insurance since 1.5 years right now. I was a little bit surprised by seeing how insurance is not really digitalized, far away from banking in Morocco, and how AXA Morocco was far away from the AXA group, who is a fully digitalized group and moving forward. And today there is the pandemic obliged us to move fast in very agile way. And as Hicham explained before, it's not at all just a technological move, but it's an organizational move, a mindset move, and cultural move inside the company itself. Today, we are talking about the client experience. We are talking about the employee experience because we need to protect our people, and we need also to give them the new tools, especially around BI, data analytics, etc., to move forward with the new risks we are facing. But also in insurance, there is specific things where we are not facing directly the clients, and we have our business is done through intermediates, les agents généraux, les courtiers, brokers, etc. And today with them, we can't anymore think our word by ourselves and impose to them how we will do it. We are really fully obliged to work as one team and to deal with the full end-to-end experience that it's clearly beginning with the client, but going through the intermediates and our employees. The point here is that something really unexpected is really coming out, which is the notion of ecosystem. What digital is bringing is the ability to do business differently, and the ability not to have any physical blockage that can open the doors. And today, it's really opening huge opportunity for us, not only to think as a company with its clients, but a company with its ecosystem to serve its clients. It's also the opportunity to come with new business models, new business models. I will just probably talk about 2 or 3 of them. Micro insurance, in the digital way, we would be more agile to move with the micro insurance, because as you know, the cost is major. And today, having partnership with the telcos or having partnership with startups like Dabadoc, and you probably heard about our partnership with Orange and Dabadoc is really opening new business models for us, and we should move that way in it. And also to open what we can call insurance on demand, moving from the classical way of signing contracts for 1 year, fixed terms, etc., and to take the new wave of mobile payments. And we discovered all that Moroccans could also buy on internet, pay by cards, by prepaid positions, etc., where we can really come with the new business models. And my colleagues from AXA Assistance and AXA Partners are with us. How to sell assistance, how to sell global assistance in a way where people were not, aware about new risks that are facing, that are now on the table, where they will try to cover themselves better. But as you explained, Assia, there is a huge number of opportunities, but cyber security is major risk in such environments. It's even with our clients, as you know, so we are insurer, so we are insuring also the cyber risk space. It's not Moroccan issue, it's not an insurance issue, it's major worldwide issue. What I think that there are 2 main points I would like to highlight about it. First, regulation, and regulation. Because unfortunately, some countries are trying to protect themselves by keeping their data, etc., not allowing global companies or local companies to move with to global clouds that are mainly more protected than having our classical way of doing things. And we need really, local regulators that are understanding the new tech, the trends, and the way we are doing it. And last but not least, and I will join my my colleague Hicham, because we have been colleagues and probably we don't know what would be the future. People behavior. Cybersecurity is not at all just about tech. It's about how each of our team members, of our colleagues, will act and are sensitive to how to deal with an email coming from an unknown place, etc. And we should really all invest, and AXA is doing a lot in this, to invest on people awareness, employee awareness, and partners awareness about how our behavior could open some risks for us.
Thank you, Meryem. It's very clear. Your message is very clear. Regulation, regulation, regulation. So if I can resume the main points. You said we need to move faster and to stay agile. We need to accelerate digitalization, to implement a new business model, and to adopt new ways of working. But for that, 2 points. It's not conditions, but we need it. We need regulation, and we need to develop develop people behavior mindset to be more agile and to accept the change also. Thank you, Meryem. My next question is for Naoual. If you mind, Hicham, I will give the floor to Naoual. Naoual, what is the issue of cybersecurity, and which is, as we know now, it's a priority, it's a counter effect of the digital transformation among the risks identified by your companies. So my first question is the part of cybersecurity, and also regarding to your sector, mining, the challenge of sustainable development. Naoual?
Yeah. Yeah, Assia, you are taking a high risk of asking a question about cybersecurity to a person who works in the mining activity. But it is a good example that in this period, everyone and even every organization must be agile and creative to be able to face those kind of new disruption. For our company, it was very clear that we have to rethink our digital strategy by balancing the drive for technological innovation with security, integrity, and resilience challenges. To face those challenges, our group integrated cybersecurity with business strategy to build trust and create value. What will make difference that we want to mitigate cyber risk on many levels: data, infrastructure, application, and people. Concretely, we designed a number of initiatives to increase resilience, starting by creating a CSO, Chief Security Officer function, to increase cyber risk awareness and establish a cybersecurity culture at all levels of the organization. We launched a project that implements global business continuity management process across the company, and we built redundancy of critical assets to reduce risk, this risk concentration. Okay. And for the second part of the question, in order to share with you how our group is capitalizing on the different revolution experienced during this pandemic, I want to start by the impact regarding these problems of cybersecurity, the impact on the acceleration of digital payments, even in many countries who were heavily and traditionally dependent on cash. For us, it was, and it is still, a new opportunity of development in new areas, where in the past, developing new mining projects was impossible because of cash payments and logistic difficulties. And with this digital move, we rethink the way we manage the construction of our project in order to optimize deadline and costs, because it's very important for the growth and of our of our company. Thanks to the power of the development of new way of connectivities. Even with moving and traveling restriction, we were able to finalize in June of this year and out of Morocco, the construction of the biggest mining project of our company. With a smaller team, it was very, very hard to manage such project, $200 million of CapEx, and more than 1,000 containers to be transported from 3 continents to Africa. In the future, we will capitalize on this forced experience to develop projects in less time and while optimizing resources. Even with cybersecurity risks, we need this move of technology in order to accelerate our growth. Also, we capitalize on this pandemic to reconsider the R&D strategy. Concretely, our group has directed R&D efforts towards 2 important axes. The first one is focusing on the markets of tomorrow by the valorization of new products that the future markets will need. For example, metals needed for electrical automotive. The second axe promote inclusive and sustainable industrialization. In my opinion, and I hope you can agree with me, Africa is in a good position to have nature-based industrialization. Reminex, on behalf of Managem, has already launched many projects related to the circular economy as a mining waste valorization and urban mine development. We are recycling now electronic devices to extract precious metals. To summarize, Assia, our R&D strategy bet on the fact that the post-pandemic economy is an inclusive and sustainable one, which will take African countries to a regional value chain, as well as shifting countries from exporters of primary products and services to added value products. And it will give us new opportunities of business and growth.
Thank you, Naoual. You talked about opportunities for Africa, and I heard one word: inclusive and sustainable strategy. It's very important for our companies and for the continent. I will give the floor to Hicham with a double question, because Manel Bernoussi, she sent me many signs of we have just 1 minute, 2 minutes left before the Q&A session. So Hicham, 2 questions, please. The first one, if you can, in a few words, if you can share with us how the sustainable challenge are addressed within your company African agenda. And for our last question of the panel, how confident are you about your company's outlook over the next 12 months? And after, I will ask the same question for Meryem and Naoual in a few words. How confident are you about your company's outlook over the next 12 months? Hicham?
Thank you, Assia. For sustainability, I think this is, as I discussed earlier, in our 4 pillars. Green energy sustainability was part of it. And we're doing a lot of actions in the company. First of all, we are creating a new center of excellence for energy. This is something we're trying to have a team in Casablanca, which around 30 to 40 engineers, which are experts on solar engineer, hydro engineering, anything has to do with sustainability and green energy. So far, we've been doing a great job in building this team. Of course, reaching out also to experts who are reinforcing that. So this is, we believe it's a key for us because it opens up opportunities, because we know clearly the investments in green energy in sustainability are just measured, are out there. Either we're going to position ourselves now, or I guess I would say the train will pass by. Of course, as I think was said by Naoual, we are also implementing all has to do with sustainability in all our engineering and work, and our project management work, our design work. really we go even to what kind of type of energy we're going to use, the impact on environment, sustainability of equipment and material use, the future decommissioning of assets. All that now today is part of that studies and engineering is being done, which is fundamental in all the projects we are doing. So addressing the climate change, it's a concern, but it's also an opportunity globally. And we need to invest on R&D and innovation. This is extremely important to be able to be well positioned and to serve the clients and the need that we have in the market. Today, we are working on multiple R&D innovation projects with UM6P. I think there is a great initiatives happening there. And with our engineering background and with the academic background, we created really a very interesting force where we are developing a lot of interesting ideas, not only energy, but in other sectors. But just to give you an idea about what's happening in the sustainability world within JESA. Now for your last questions. Look, we are extremely positive. I mean, myself, I see the outlook really positive. Again, JESA today, as you know, Assia, we are not only in one area. We are 1,600 people. We are in 6 sectors, which comes from mining, energy, water, building, fertilizers, and port infrastructure. So we have to adapt to every sector and see how things are doing there. So we're extremely positive. We're optimistic. We believe Africa as well is really resilient. And we saw that throughout the last 2-3 years. As a matter of fact, when we have our offices, we have seen after the shutdown up to July 20th, things picked up again and we had projects. We started executing our projects and going back to sites. And that just to say that I believe the continent do have the solid goods to be able to face this kind of, to face the future. And when it comes to sectors, we have 3 sectors we're focusing on, which I'm very optimistic about. We spoke about energy, knowing how much investments are coming to that industry. Mining, look, we're in the commodity super cycle, and I think Managem knows that very well. We are very optimistic about mining. We're seeing a lot of actions in West Africa. We are well positioned with some interesting clients, very partner kind of clients. And water, and finally water, especially in Morocco. I think there is a big focus on non-conventional water sources, like desalination and waste treatment, which I believe are extremely important. I would add one thing, if you don't mind. I'll go back to the people thing. I think this is the biggest challenge we have. Yes, we're optimistic, but we need to keep our talents in the continent. We need to invest on them. And retaining talents is a key. We should not, look, there's a global competition. People are going now to Europe, to other places. They're also working from home, maybe here, but working from European countries. So we need to find a way to create the right environment for our teams. It's extremely important. If we don't do that, we lose everything. You can have any investments. If you don't have the people and you're taking care of the people, we're not going to go far. And the last thing, Africa is different from country to country. We need to go beyond Africa, West Africa, East Africa, every country. And we need to go with the win-win partnerships for both sides. We need to look for the right partners and have the right win-win solutions. Thank you.
Hicham. Thank you, Hicham, for your conclusion. In a few words, please, because the time is running out. Naoual, your conclusion, are you confident for the next 12 months for your company and for the economic growth?
As Hicham said, the outlook is very positive, but I believe also in the fact that the wave of change in Africa, it is supported by 2 dynamics. First, the bottom-up approach, where the engine of digital transformation is at the level of companies and communities. And second, the top-down approach, which is included government intervention in creating and enabling environment through innovation policies and ecosystems. Casa Finance City and Tangimed ecosystem are a good example in Morocco. At the level of companies, the real challenge is how we can plan for the long term, even as we are still coping with the immediate disruption of the pandemic. To achieve faster and higher quality growth requires the bottom line, yes, as modeling, predicting, and planning, which are all important. But investing with courage and high tolerance for investment risk is essential and vital. for both countries and companies investing in the promising markets of tomorrow, but with more appetite for risks. This is what will ensure post-growth, COVID growth. And as Hicham said, it is very important to invest, to spend more time on developing people and adapting new collaboration technologies and tools that improve decisions making in a crisis.
Thank you so much, Naoual. So the last word for Meryem for our panel. Meryem, how confident are you?
Even more than before. Frankly, I think that business opportunities are here. I'm not talking about just insurance, but the whole African market. Youth is here. We should not forget that we have youth on which we can invest, and who is probably one of the most important richness of who we are. The experience I had with Capgemini and engineering is, moving from 0 to 2,000 engineers in 5 years is just impossible in other areas. And the third very important asset also is that probably we are starting from 0 in some areas, which is not such negative, but which could be also an opportunity. But
the sky is the limit for you.
Yeah, but to achieve it, we have huge, deep challenges. Our country should really move on with political stability in some areas. So it's important. Talent retention, and Hicham talked about it. Unfortunately, many people are really moving abroad. It's not at all about just money. It's not at all just about conditions, but it's also about environment, about openness, democracy, etc. And we should give this. And my last point will be about top management. We are talking about CEOs. Unfortunately, when you see if you take the top 100 companies in Africa, the CEOs have been there forever, since ever. And today, the management of our countries should be aware that they should bring new brains, new people with new dynamics, to move the lines and to develop our future.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Meryem. Thank you, dear guests. Maybe just one word for my part. I heard about inclusion, challenges, but also I can add maybe the role of women in Africa. It's also a key finding for the future. So thank you, dear guests. And Manal, the floor is yours. And sorry, but it was so
excellent. Be. We are loving this. We are loving the conversation from here. It's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for a great moderation. Thank you to our guests. I am definitely guilty of being the timekeeper here, but we are loving the conversation. We have some questions for you. I mean, look at the chat box, so many comments. It's great to see. But we just want to make sure to be able to fit in a couple questions at least for you guys. Thanks again for these very high level insights. So let me take in a couple of questions as we have so many. A question from Adil Mkawi here. How can Moroccan companies optimize collective efforts to achieve this Africa business agenda? How can we make sure that collectively we are working towards this agenda? Anyone wants to jump in for this question? Maybe Hicham?
Okay, sure. Only camera on, I see. So, really, definitely, it's a great question, and I recognize the name because it's someone from JESA, so it's great to see that JESA people are active in the chat. So, look, this is fundamental for our growth in the continent. We need to learn how to work together in a sense that we are complementing each other and really finding a way to improve each other. And I think we have all the goods in the continent to really do this. And today, frankly, if I take our example, we have, when we go to a country like, say, Côte d'Ivoire, we have one of the best partners there where we work together to complement each other. People would think should be competition, but we don't see it that way. We should be open to share knowledge with each other. This is extremely important. If someone has a knowledge, needs to share with the other one. We cannot be in everyone's corner competing against each other. So that's fundamental and important. We need also the clients to trust the African talents, extremely important. And working in one ecosystem, synchronized ecosystem is extremely important. And really, I mean, we are doing in Morocco, at least we've seen a lot of great things we're doing when we get together. I mean, we are just finished the project now in 8 months. Never done to finish such construction of such a major project in 8 months. But you have, everyone came together when it comes from the client, the contractors, the project management. So having this synchronization between us, trusting each other, and really sharing knowledge with each other is fundamental for us to even look into Africa in a bigger way, I've seen.
Awesome, thank you so much for that. Other question from Ali Swafi, who's thanking you all for this high quality presentations and exchanges. He says, as global powerhouses to be in the mining space, how do you invest in environmental sustainability? Maybe this one could go to Ms. Naoual. Zine?
Yeah,
your
thank
thoughts
you.
on sustainability?
Yeah, I can, to answer to this question, I can give one example for Managem Group. And thanks to Reminex, who developed a new process who allow us to double the production of cobalt by the valorization of the waste, mining waste of cobalt. More than 30 years of, or more than 40 years of waste of cobalt, now we are producing cobalt not from extracting from the mine, but from the valorization of waste. We are doing the same thing in the silver mine and also in the polymetallic mine. I think sustaining, we have to work to develop R&D and to orient R&D to those environment challenges as opportunities. It's very important. And also to be concrete, we had to end this transition, not only to keep it at the R&D level. But as I said, in Managem, we are valorizations more than 80% of our waste. Thanks to these R&D programs and all the engineering work, and also thanks to the fact that sustainability is, we build strategy based on sustainability.
That's impressive. Thank you for sharing that. One more question regarding the Africa Free Trade Area. The question is, are you optimistic and what are the main challenges for the success of it? Maybe I'll hand this one to Mrs. Meryem Chami. I think your mic is muted.
Yeah. Free trade, agreements could be major opportunities for our countries, but when they are not equilibrated, it could be also huge risks. It's exactly, if we take the example of Morocco. So Morocco, our current development is also related to those free trends. But we should really, our policymakers should be able also to manage the balance in the right way, not only to go to those markets, but also to be able to bring value from those markets when we are talking out of the African workspace. I think the future of those free trade agreements, even inside Africa, because it could be between those countries themselves, they should be really equilibrated since the beginning to be sure, as Hicham explained before, that the relationship could be a win-win relationship, to develop value from the two sides. And we should not just think about what we can export or what we can import, but probably talk about also knowledge transfer, talk about talent, moves, to create those values and to move forward. And the major point for me is equilibrium. And I hope that, in Africa especially, policymakers will probably move from their personal interest zone to their countries or, the Africa interest zones, to develop the real agreements that would really bring value from the population. And you know, I think that the major example that is on the table is the relationship between Morocco and Africa and Algeria. Not having real, you know, open borders is just destroying value for the two sides. You know, for population where it's probably just protecting some people interests.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we're all for regional integration. I'm taking one last question here. There has been so many reactions to the talent retaining part and normalizing the discussion around wellness and mental health in the workplace. I'd love for you all just to give us some concrete examples of things you could put in place in your organizations, inspire other organizations to move toward more conscious organizations on that matter.
So I can start. I think in JESA, this is something we realized quickly a year and a half ago, and we already started the program for well-being and also for diversity and inclusion. As a matter of fact, in our values today is to be diverse and inclusive. And I think Assia knows this very well. She was part of the values that we created in JESA, which was one of them. So today, for example, in JESA, we want to give you one example. We are doing a special hotline with coaches. When people are not feeling right, they can call those coaches and they can get one-on-one discussions. And we are seeing and we are tracking this throughout last year. And we're seeing, we have like measuring when we see that people are really down versus the coaching, I would say calls was going up. So that's something we're tracking, for example. We try to work on that. We have been encouraging a lot of people take initiatives, doing yoga classes, sports classes online and through Teams. So a lot of things really we are implementing within the company to really push for that. And it comes to diversity inclusion. I think this is the biggest challenge we have. One of the things we're doing this year is we're putting for all the leaders a KPI when it comes to diversity. When it comes for recruiting from outside Morocco, and also when it comes to women leaders. Meaning today, we are giving to each one of us a percentage that they need to reach by the end of the year when it comes to women leaders in leadership positions. So this is kind of examples we have been doing for the last year and a half, 2 years. And there is so many things really to be done. And I think we should have another session on this topic.
Absolutely, definitely worth it, absolutely. Ms. Naoual, Zine, you would like to share some thoughts on that? And then we'll conclude with Mrs. Chami.
Yeah, just a concrete example. And I said one comment in in Africa, Africa must trust Africa. And we have to trust our people and our experts. And one example, the last project we have done, 2,000 were involved in the construction of this project, all of them from Africa, 20 nationalities, all of them. And it was very important. And in these crises, it helping us to target the deadlines and the CapEx, thanks to those African experts. Because you know, when we have a problem, Ebola or other problems, you know what is happening here in Africa, in our continent. And thanks to our experts, employees, but African one, more than 20 nationalities, and we are very proud of this. And also, even our mines, here in Managem, we have many mines we have the general manager of our mines from Burkina Faso or from Mali, etc. It's very important for us, this inclusion inside Africa.
That's great to hear. Awesome. Thank you so much. Mrs. Meryem Chami.
Yeah, so I will, Hicham spoke about, what the company should do, to retain people. I will not repeat what he said because I'm fully aligned, but I will continue with what the policymakers should do. Yes. Because today, in my experience with Capgemini, we were offering the right environment, mental health management, etc. And when we were talking to people, they were talking about three main missing major points for them. Health, they are not confident about our health systems. Education for their kids. So the situation of their, the education is really not good at all. And those people are just explaining, I can't put my kid in a normal school. I need to go to very expensive schools, etc., without real interest. And last but not least, selling glasses that are put where we are having the same people in the same places since ever.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Well, it has been a lively conversation with really great insights. On behalf of CFC and PwC in Morocco, I would like to thank you all and thank our audience for joining us today. When we will close this webinar, there is a quick survey that will appear on the screen. We like to know how we've done. So if you could take a few seconds to answer it, it would be greatly appreciated. So this concludes our remarks for today. Again, thank you everyone, co-hosts, speakers, and audience. Please be safe out there, and I wish you all a great day. This concludes our webcast. Bye-bye.